Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, Coach Sark, the Texas Longhorns, to me, that was the most impressive version we've seen from Texas all year. And I get there'll be some people in the comment section saying, well, the Texas defense didn't exactly look great. Yeah, that might have been true. To me, watching that game again, I give a lot more credit to K. Klubnik and what he did at the quarterback spot than it was Texas not playing good on the defensive side of the football. I thought that defensive line dominated, specifically stopping the run. They were getting a lot of pressure on K. Klubnik. Look, sometimes you just have to give a tip of your cap to K. Klubnik. He made some really big-time plays and really big-time throws. That Texas offense, though, Dill, when Texas runs the football like that with that outside zone, it is so hard to stop this offense. And you give Quinn Ewers a run game, let him work some play action. That was the most complete offense we've seen from Texas in a very long time. Now, you play Arizona State. Dill, Arizona State on the defensive side of the football doesn't get enough credit for completely revamping their personnel. You know, year one under Kenny Dillingham, they just didn't have a lot of power for talent on that defensive side. This year they do. Now, can it stop Texas? That's probably what we're going to get into. You know, Kenny Dillingham, Sam Levitt, Cam Scadaboo can make some things happen on offense as well against a really good Texas defense. A lot of intriguing matchups that we're going to see in this football game. Before we get into it, as always, Texas fans, Arizona State fans, let it fly in the comment section. This is going to be a fun one. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, to me, I want to start with this Texas offense. That was the big story for me coming out of that game against Clemson. You talk about keys to Texas continuing their success on offense against Arizona State, where you want to start.
I mean, it's where you started all year for Texas. When they run the ball really successfully, they're just almost impossible to beat. I mean, you look at the way they control football games, the way they can work play action off what they're doing. It's always starting to stop that rushing attack. What's so impressive, obviously, is they lose two offensive linemen in that game, not really miss a beat. Weisner gets banged up. Jarrett Gibson comes in, looks really good. Blue played good all game. That's a really complete performance. Texas plays like that. I mean, ultimately, they dictate this game. I don't see how Arizona State can.
Yeah, and so if you're Arizona State, you're coming into this one saying we need to do everything we can to stop the run game. You know, if Arizona State wants to play a base defense with the two safeties high, it's just hard to see Texas not having a ton of success running the football. You kind of expect Arizona State to walk a guy like Miles Roser back down into who's very good supporting the run from that safety spot. You're going to see them try to do that. Is it going to be enough to stop this Texas rushing attack? That's question number one. And one of the intriguing things that came out for me for Texas last night, Clemson was playing with three linebacker sets pretty much exclusively. You know, it was Barry Carter, Wade Woodaz, and Sammy Brown. They weren't playing with the nickel. They were trying to stop the run. They just couldn't. Like, you have a feeling Arizona State is going to try to do the exact same thing. Are they able to do it? That's one question. If they are able to do it, you kind of have a feeling it's going to be a sellout to stop the run. Then the question is, can Quinn Ewers, Wingo, Isaiah Bond coming back healthy could be a massive story in this game. Matthew Golden, can they work vertically down the field? If Arizona State just wants to leave one safety high, can Quinn Ewers beat you down the field? That's probably the question you have if Arizona State is able to sell out and stop the run.
Because it's not even just about selling out, like adding guys to box. Like, you think they're going to need to do some run blitzes, use their corners, like get almost creative where they can like catch Texas off and create a negative play once in a while. Because again, like just man to man, I don't really see how this Arizona State team just bases up and like stops this Texas rushing attack. I think there's only a couple teams in the country can do it. Like, you look at Georgia, obviously they have the personnel to kind of do it, maybe in Ohio State, but aside from those type of teams, like, no one's really been.
And I'm surprised because still, I look at Clemson's front seven and say that's pretty.
I would have thought they were one.
They got, especially if you're going to go three linebackers. I mean, that's a lot of NFL talent in that front seven. Texas just had their way. I thought DJ Campbell was freaking awesome in this football game. And secondly, you got to give a massive shout out to Trevor Gooseby, man. Trevor Gooseby at one. Okay, you got a spot duty left tackle, and then you got to go spot duty right tackle. Unreal. It's so hard to have just two quality starting tackles. Like Texas has 3. They might even have 4 with true freshman Brandon Baker, but you look at what Trevor Gooseby has meant to this day. You talk about depth on the offensive line being a priority. It has been for Coach Sark. He's built that depth on the high school recruiting trail, and it's paying massive dividends when you're playing football games in the middle of
And
December.
one thing off of it is like Coach Sark and his ability to kind of like take away, okay, you want to really try to stop the run. Obviously, that was Clemson's number one goal. You saw when Texas went to their kind of like shot plays, if you will, they were working, whether it was hitting the balls down the field. Ryan Wingo, he can't really be coming off the field a whole lot. He's a monster. I look at like, again, even working in space, when he catches the ball, he's just so hard to bring down. Those end arounds, like those trick plays Texas gets to, like we talk about Arizona State needing to take some risks. I just feel like Sark is really dialed in terms of being able to take advantage. Like, okay, you're going to stop what our base offense is going to do. He does a really good job at kind of making you pay for selling out to do that.
100%. And I thought Quinn Ewers was dynamite too. And like it won't necessarily show on the box score, but he played a very in command football game, which you're looking to do. Now you flip the sides. This is where like you look, Kenny Dillingham is one of the young risers in the coaching industry, especially on the offensive side of the football, but really just running this program. Like he's done a phenomenal job in his 2 years at Arizona State. You kind of know what Arizona State's going to want to do, right? They run the football 61% of the time. That's 11th most in the country. They got one of the best backs in the country in Cam Scadabo. And Sam Levitt can get involved with his legs as well, which adds another kind of wrinkle into this Arizona State rushing attack. I think my first question is Arizona State wants to run the football a lot and then take some shot plays. You know, Sam Levis averaged up to targets 10 plus yards. You don't have Jordan Tyson in this game. That's primarily been the guy they want to work it to vertically. Texas, you talk about the biggest storyline for Texas this year. They don't give up explosive plays in the secondary. And that was kind of their Achilles heel last year. It is nails in the 2024 year. When you talk about stopping Cam Scadabo, one, it starts with Texas front seven. It's a top 10 rush defense in the country. You got to team tackle him. Like, this is just a bear. He is a big Canadian polar bear, and you have to team tackle him. The thing is, Texas's team speed, flying to the football, you get the sense that, I guess where I'll say it's hard for me to see a reality where Arizona State just does what they want, running the football in this Texas defense.
Because Scadabo's been a problem because he has, like, if he gets one-on-one chances, no one's really bringing him down. And
Exactly.
again, I look at where Texas is at in terms of their defense and what their talent level is. Like, even you look at their back end, like Makuba, excellent tackler, Michael Tapp, excellent tackler. Even a guy like Jelani McDonald, who's come in and played a lot of football for them, really good tackler, and another guy like Gilbo. Like, they all tackle really well. You look at the linebackers, that's obvious an elite unit, and they do a good job of covering the kind of space I think you need to cover when you go play in Arizona State. So again, the only thing I think you can look for is one thing Texas has done is they've allowed a decent completion percentage for teams underneath. That's probably going to be Arizona State's shot to do something, is just be able to be really rhythmic.
Yeah, because
in fairness, has been pretty efficient in doing what he's done.
Yeah, but you also, then that kind of brings into question, all right, if you want to kind of work the short underneath stuff, you better not be taking a lot of negative plays.
Yeah.
Texas is really damn good at creating negative plays.
Well, that's why what they're doing works. They don't give up big plays. Yeah, they'll give you something underneath. But if you create sacks and TFLs in the run game, which obviously they've been able to do, you can give teams a 4 or 5 yard.
And it's like, I know this isn't groundbreaking analysis, but what I have in my notes is like just, and Kenny Dillingham's continuing to work up to a, competitive power 4 caliber roster. But part of the process of the rebuild is you don't just snap your fingers and get a line of scrimmage bodies that Texas has had. And again, Coach Sark has spent so much time recruiting, not only in the portal, but on the high school recruiting trail, getting those kind of bodies and the depth of those bodies along the line of scrimmage. I think you're going to see two teams that they just look physically different from one another. Texas just a probably bigger, stronger, faster unit than Arizona State right now in this Kenny Dillingham rebuild. You get the feeling that if Arizona State wants to have success in this football game, a lot of it's going to come down to scheme and Kenny Dillingham dialing some things up, which I'm not putting past Kenny Dillingham because he's a damn good offensive mind. But from a pure size speed combination, which is the root of the sport of football, you got to give Texas the edge on both sides. Getting into, I guess, the pick here, Dale. Texas 2-touchdown favorites, neutral site. Who you got?
Yeah, if I was going to take Arizona State, I'd probably want it out of the 2 touchdown kind of
Yeah,
range.
same.
You take at 13.5. Again, it's a lot more just to do with Texas. And you need to be able to stop the run to deal with this Texas team. If you can't do it, that's like table stakes be in this game. I just look at what is Arizona State's personnel. Do they have the type of guys
Yeah, the
on the
dudes.
inside to do it? Probably not yet, realistically, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to build that up. You even saw it took a while for Coach Sark
Yeah,
to build
agreed.
that up in Texas. It took through a couple of years for him to have the offensive and defensive lines that he needed. And you said it. It was not a portal quick fix kind of thing. It was recruiting really good players out of high school and developing them to mean nasty, tough guys on that offensive line. I just don't think Arizona State's there. And when Texas kind of can control the tempo on the ground, I just don't really see how Arizona State hangs in this game.
Yeah, it feels like Texas can kind of control. And that's one of the things that I also really like about Texas is they can win in a lot of different ways. Like we saw against Clemson, it was a little bit more of a shootout game, right? And a lot of people heading into that one thought it was going to be kind of a grind you out, defenses control the game. Texas can win those kind of games. I don't know if Texas takes a backseat to anybody on the defensive side of the football, but if you also want to get into a little bit of a track, you're going to get a quick, it's going to be a fast track there in the Peach Bowl. Texas can shoot out with anybody either. And I think
But
that's what,
eventually, they're still good at choking teams out. That
yeah,
boa constrictor that Joel Klatt likes to talk about with certain teams.
yeah,
At the end of the day, their physicality does seem to wear on teams. Even it
yeah,
did for Clemson. Clemson kind of battled back a little bit in the third quarter. And then obviously Texas just kind of stepped on them because they couldn't stop that rushing attack that Texas was
yeah.
throwing.
And I guess one last thing I'll throw in there is scoring touchdowns in the red zone. You want to, if you want to separate. And they did that against Clemson. They didn't against Georgia. Look, the way we're talking about Texas could be dramatically different
Yeah.
if they just finished drives in the first half against Georgia in the SEC championship game.
They had a chance to step on them.
They had a chance, and they didn't. And if you're Texas here, you have a feeling you're going to move the football. If you want to kind of put this game away, make sure you're scoring touchdowns in the red zone. If it's 3 really good drives and you're only looking at a 9-0 lead going into the late second quarter versus 21-3, you want to make sure you're executing. That's going to be something. If you want to win national championship, you better be operating damn well in the red zone. If they do that, this team's one of the most dangerous teams in the country. I'm with Texas too. I also kind of like the over here. I like 51.5 seems low. I'm not saying Arizona State's going to score a ton, but I do think Kenny Dillingham, with a couple of weeks to prepare, is going to have something that.
That's a good point because he probably had a good feeling Texas was going to be here. So
He's probably
to dial up on that offense.
He's been prepping for 3 weeks here for Texas. Yeah, no doubt in my mind. And then you just have a hard time seeing Arizona State really deal with Texas running the football. And Texas has been explosive too with some of these runs. Jaden Blue, the Texas fans have been talking to us about Jaden Blue for a while, and they're damn right. Every time Jaden Blue gets a shot, he's a really good football player. We'll sign out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.